It has been a glorious day here in the woodyard. Not just because I finished up all of the mini maple firewood, splitting up everything I had in here. That is one reason, but the other reason is what's going on currently right over there. Oh, did you want to see what's going on over there? All right, hang on. So like I mentioned, this is the last of the maple. I've got a few chunks here, but these are all knotty. 5 pieces. Split those with, I don't know, I might just split those into bigger chunks for the sauna. But this is all that's left of all those rounds, and here is the total. Probably, if we look at this tote, it's probably about half full. Half full of beautiful mini maple firewood splits. That is just looking great. But what is going on behind me? Right there, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the working prototype, proof of concept firewood kiln from Anderson Biomass Systems. So you may or may not know of Phil Anderson from Wisconsin here. He has been a firewood supplier, producer for many years, and he's also been building kilns. He built a kiln for himself, and now he is working on bringing a kiln to market that is kind of geared towards and for, that's right, the hobbyist. It's going to be a smaller type of kiln, anywhere from like 1 IBC tote capacity up to 3. And this, what he put together here and what he brought down for me to test and to try out is just like I mentioned, a prototype, a proof of concept, just to get to see how things work. And then what he's going to do is take his design and make it into a model, like I said, that will hold either 1 tote or up to 3 totes. And so far, testing this thing out, it has been working great. Now, I want to show you a few parts. I have an agreement with him not to show you like everything, all the inner workings and how everything operates, but basically it's got a firebox on the bottom. You build the fire in there, and then the wood is on top of that firebox inside of another chamber. And what happens is the hot air from the fire goes up into the upper chamber, and when it reaches a certain temperature, there is a blower and a fan that kicks on and moves the air, brings the cold air in from outside into that, I guess, the wood chamber, and then cools the temperature down. And it kind of runs on cycles, kind of like the set points on a boiler. So when it reaches, I believe, 300 degrees, that's when the blower kicks on and brings in the cold air, and it'll cool it down, and then either the blower will stay on and maintain a, whatever temperature you build your fire up to, and then if it cools off, the blower shuts off, and then once the fire heats the chamber back up, it just keeps repeating itself. So I was very excited when Phil reached out to me, and we kind of got talking about this project that he had in mind, and he was wondering if I would be willing to run some tests on this, like real working, world test, using my mini firewood. And so he brought it down here last week. I've been running it. This is the third run I'm doing today with it. So I'm going to show you here now. This is real time how fast the temperature heats up. So this is footage from when I first started the kiln this morning. And that temperature gauge, it's not moving at twice the speed, 3 times the speed. That is how fast it heats up. So in the test runs that I've done, it has taken on average around 20 minutes to heat up from whatever the outside temperature is. This morning it was like 25, up until that 300 plus temperature. It's taken around 20 minutes only to get that hot inside. And then once that blower kicks on, you'll see here as well, this is like the real time how fast that temperature then cools down and kind of settles into that 1 180 to 200, 220 range. So the temperature is controlled. It's very unique how the temperature is controlled, and that's the big thing. When you're trying to, like, I don't know a lot about kilns, all right? I have done a little research, but for the most part, I have some understanding on the fact that, you have to put energy in to get the water out. And the other big thing is the airflow. And what's interesting with this design is as it's running, as that temperature inside the drying chamber is at 180 to 220, there's also constant airflow being pushed across and through the wood. And I'll show you here in a little bit an example of that when I take the front door off, and I'll hold a little piece of tissue paper in front and you'll be able to see how much the air that is moving inside there. All right, so I just put a piece of paper towel in there, and you can see now how much it's waving in the air that's getting forced through that basket of wood. And that is where you get your drying from. It's both the heat and the airflow that's important. Once you have your fire going and you have a good established fire down in the bottom, like all day now, I've just been kind of monitoring the gauge, and then I'll be adding wood as needed. The other thing you can do is you can kind of, there's a damper on the door. You can open that up more. You can close it down. So there's all kinds of controls that you can do, but it's all like, it's not something that you just turn on and walk away and forget about it. It's something that you do have to monitor, you do have to watch, you do have to pay attention. Like for instance, today I'm out here in the wood yard working anyway, so I'm out here. What better use of time than to have something like this running in the background, drying some firewood, and just every now and then throwing a couple pieces of wood in the bottom. So that is one of the other features that I love about this setup and this concept, this design, is that it is based off of using scrapped wood, stuff you have around your wood yard. Anderson biomass systems, wood chips, scraps from the box wedge, odd cutoff pieces, things that you don't normally sell or burn yourself. You feed it into that thing and it will use that heat. You can burn your scraps to then dry your wood. So imagine, like again, this is something kind of geared towards the hobbyist. So imagine now, you have a smaller firewood operation. You're out in the yard working for a day. You want to put one tote of firewood into your kiln and have kiln dried firewood by the end of the weekend. This is going to be your option to do that. It's going to give you that ability to take wood to a smaller restaurant, a smaller pizza oven, and you as a hobbyist can now compete with the big boys, the guys running the big kilns. Yes, indeed. Just think about this. 1 to 3 totes. Like I mentioned, you put in 1 tote. In the morning, you start your fire up. Now there's still, I'm still doing tests on how long it's going to take, but let's just say, for example, you had it running for, during the day, one day, all day, and then let's say your fire went out overnight. The next day you fired it back up again. So let's say you had 2 days of running scrap wood, burning it up, drying your tote of firewood. After 2 days, that wood is ready to now sell as kiln dried, and you know what that means. You get a little more money for it. So I wouldn't be able to properly test drying mini firewood if I didn't use some mini firewood scraps. So yes, indeed, I can take these mini firewood scraps, this odds and ends, these pieces that are just the undesirables. I can go, you can see that how much heat this thing is kicking off just from the bottom here. So I'm going to open this up, and now I can shovel in my mini firewood scraps. So I just stoked the fire up and added that little bit in, that mini firewood scraps, and I put a couple pieces in. And now you can see we kind of climbed up to about a little over 200. The fan is cooling it back down, but it should stabilize and kind of between 180 and 200 is generally where it tends to want to like even out, and I guess balance out might be the proper word. But again, depending on how much wood you put down here, how big you have your fire going, how much air you're letting in, that kind of drives how hot you keep the inside of that, I guess, drying chamber. Now, if you want more information, or if you are all interested in what's going on here with Phil and his Anderson Biomass Systems, I have a link down in the description to his Facebook page. That is where you're going to want to go over there and follow his page to keep updated on anything, new information he has coming out. And I think if you want, through that page, send him a message if you are all interested in possibly getting on the waiting list. Because he's going to start building, like I said, I think he's got a couple different ideas in mind on the sizes. This one right here, this is just the, like I mentioned, the proof of concept. You know, instead of building out a great big unit, he built a smaller unit to test, to see if his, I guess, design and how he made everything is going to work. And from there, he is going to, like I said, if you're interested, let him know ahead of time, because I have a feeling his list is going to get to be pretty long. And so, again, this is geared towards the hobbyist. This isn't something that you're going to probably think of on a mass production scale. Now, for me, you might be wondering, well, you know, it looks small, doesn't look like there's that much mini firewood in there. But from my point of view, if I can just here and there, like maybe every other day or maybe like 2 times a week, if I can make a run in a kiln like that to just start getting me ahead, it's gonna be huge. Because each time, you know, I'm still seasoning naturally the wood in the greenhouse. It's not happening as fast during the winter now. So something like this is gonna allow me to get ahead, like I mentioned, maybe 2 times a week running it. It's not gonna be something that I run every day. Again, this isn't like a mass production type of unit. This is geared towards that, our favorite word, hobbyist. So like I mentioned, go over to the link is in the bio, or link is in the description of the video. Go over to Facebook or just search on Facebook, Anderson Biomass Systems. You're gonna wanna check it out. You're gonna wanna follow his page. You're gonna wanna stay tuned for updates, because I think this is gonna be a home run for the hobbyist. One last thing, the 2 runs that I've done before this one, I did run for about 8 hours. The first one I did like 6 hours one day, and then the next day I fired it up again for about 2 to 3. And then the other one was pretty much all day, and now this one's gonna be from, I started up this morning at about 9, and I will probably let this go till 5, a little after 5 tonight. And then I will just let things kind of cool off inside there, and then tomorrow I'll come out, you know, do a test, do a check. I might fire it up again tomorrow for maybe 2 to 3 hours. We'll see. But it's very exciting to have something like this. I'm very grateful. Once again, thank you, Phil, for bringing this down and, you know, collaborating with me on this, giving me the opportunity to test this out, give you some data back on how it's running, how it functions, times it takes to, you know, like I said, get up to temp, how well it maintains the temperature, how long it takes, how many hours to dry stuff out. All of this stuff Phil is going to be using to, again, produce his larger models, larger units. So follow his page. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think this is pretty dang cool. And I think it's something that, again, is going to give people out there that have a smaller firewood operation a chance to maybe start going into different markets to start offering, you know, kiln-dried firewood. Even if it's to a campground for like some bundled, or to a grocery store with bundles, or like I mentioned, a pizza oven, a restaurant. You know, you might have a small restaurant in town that doesn't want a full cord. They might just want a third of a cord or one IBC tote full. Something like this, you could produce that kiln dried tote of firewood in a weekend and have it ready. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, have fun, and be cool.